Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're taking a closer look at wealth management in India,
Oh, yeah.
specifically Anand Rathi Wealth Ltd.
Okay.
We're going to call them ARWL for short.
Gotcha.
ARWL. We've got their Q3F25 investor presentation
Right.
and some of their company announcements. Really try to understand their financials and what the future looks like for them. And to help us out today, we've got, well, you, an
Yep.
expert in all things financial analysis.
Happy to be here. It's definitely an exciting time for wealth management in India. A lot of moving pieces,
For sure.
lots of potential.
And speaking of exciting, ARWL's Q3 and 9-month results for FY25, pretty impressive growth, I would say.
Yeah, definitely some big numbers.
Their assets under management, AUM,
Yeah.
has grown 38.8% year over year,
Whoa,
which is a lot.
that's huge.
And they're sitting at a pretty big number, 76,402 crores.
Yeah, that's not small. It's interesting though because it's not just about growing the AUM, right? You
Okay.
also got to look at profitability.
Yeah, for sure.
Are they actually making money from all this growth?
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So their profit after tax, PAT, jumped 33.2% in Q3.
Okay.
And even more, for the 9 months leading up to December 2024, 34.4%.
So they are making money then. That's good. And consistent too, which is important, especially in a market that can be a bit, well, volatile sometimes, Suggests they've got a good plan and they're sticking to it.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that kind of stood out to me in their presentation was the focus on high net worth individuals, HNIs.
Right, HNIs.
They're really going all in on this segment.
Interesting. I mean, it makes sense from a business perspective. Serving HNIs, it's not just about stickiness, keeping the clients around.
Right.
HNIs often need, or I guess want, more complex financial products and services.
Okay.
Which means more fees, more revenue. They're targeting a niche, essentially, with higher margins and potentially more stable relationships over time.
That makes a lot of sense. And it looks like it's working. They even mentioned this trend they call client upgrade.
Client upgrade.
Yeah. So clients who started in that like 50 lakh to 5 crore bracket,
Right.
they've moved up to the ultra HNI category.
Wow. Which is above 5 crores.
Above 5 crores, exactly.
That's a good sign. Means they're keeping their clients happy. Clients are trusting them.
For sure.
It really shows that they're delivering, going above and beyond, to keep those clients coming back. That's a testament to, I'd say, building those long-term relationships and providing value.
Now let's dig a little deeper into their operational highlights.
Okay.
So they've really ramped up their number of relationship managers, RMs,
Sure.
which are, well, a key part of their business.
Yeah, they're the ones building relationships with the clients, right?
Absolutely. But what's interesting is their attrition rates, especially among the top performers. Super low.
Yeah, that's a really good sign in this industry. You need experienced RMs to maintain those strong client relationships and make sure the service is smooth and personalized, right?
Exactly.
High turnover, well, that can really disrupt things, impact the bottom line.
They also talked about the growth in their active client families, especially the ones who have been with them for a while. They call it vintage.
Vintage.
Also more than 3 years.
That's loyalty. Means they're delivering on their promises, keeping up with the client's needs, That kind of loyalty is a big asset in this business.
Okay, let's talk about their strategy for growth. They've got this kind of multi-pronged approach going on.
Okay, multi-pronged.
So they're aiming for organic AUM growth, through good investment returns.
Right.
And they want to get more from their existing clients, expand that wallet share.
Makes sense. Get more from the people who already trust you.
Plus, they're always looking for new clients.
Of course. Got to keep growing.
And of course, growing their network of RMs.
Yeah. Yep. The more the merrier, right? As long as they're good. But this diversified approach, that's smart, especially in a market like India's.
It can be unpredictable.
Exactly. By not putting all their eggs in one basket, so to speak, they're creating a more resilient business, something that can handle those ups and downs,
Now, speaking of the market, ARWL seems pretty optimistic about the future of wealth management in India.
Oh, yeah.
They see a lot of potential. I mean, it makes sense given how the economy is doing.
Sure. But what's driving that potential specifically? I mean, what are they seeing?
Well, they talk a lot about the potential of mutual funds.
Mutual funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, India's mutual fund industry, it's still got a lot of room to grow. Think about it.
Okay.
As more people understand mutual funds and get comfortable with them, the demand for those kinds of investments is only going to increase, especially as more people become, wealthy.
Right. And they also highlighted the rising number of high net worth individuals, HNIs.
More HNIs, more demand for sophisticated services.
Right. And let's not forget that shift we're seeing. People are moving away from those traditional investments like bank deposits or gold.
Right. More people are looking at equities now. They're realizing the potential for higher returns, especially over the long term. It's a cultural shift, really, and it's one that companies like ARWL, with their expertise in equities, are in a great position to capitalize on.
But they're not just sitting back and waiting for all this growth to happen organically.
No.
They're taking action, expanding into new areas.
Like what?
Things like digital wealth.
Okay, digital wealth.
Targeting those mass affluent folks.
Right. Makes sense. Cast a wider net.
And their online fund advisor platform, OFA.
OFA.
That one's aimed at retail investors.
So they're trying to reach a broader market.
Exactly. They're building a more comprehensive ecosystem.
Smart. Cater to different needs, different preferences. It's all about positioning themselves for that long-term growth, as India's wealth management scene keeps changing and growing.
It's pretty clear that ARWL has a lot of momentum going for them. They've consistently exceeded their own guidance for 13 quarters in a row.
Yeah.
Beating expectations on revenue, profit, and AUM growth.
That's impressive. Not just luck, I'd say. That's discipline, understanding the market, and being able to adapt. Sounds like they've got a pretty solid business model.
Their financials definitely back that up. Compound annual growth rates, TGRs.
Yeah, no pager.
Across revenue, PIT, AUM, all impressive. Consistent and profitable growth over time. That's got to make investors feel pretty good.
It does. Shows they're in it for the long haul, not just chasing quick wins. And they're not just growing within India either.
Right, they're expanding.
New offices across the country, even a subsidiary in the UK. That's ambition right there. Going global.
But before we move on, I wanted to touch on a couple of things. They recently announced a 1.1 bonus share issue.
Oh.
Subject to shareholder approval, of course.
Right, of course.
And there's this interesting thing with Mr. Anand Rathi. He's being reclassified from a promoter group shareholder to a public shareholder.
That's intriguing. Bonus share issue, that's usually a good sign for investors. Can increase liquidity, maybe boost the share price, shows confidence in the future, right? As for Mr. Rathi, well, it's connected to a family settlement, so could mean some changes in the ownership structure. Be interesting to see what happens there.
So far, it seems like ARWL is doing a lot of things right. But how does all this translate into the actual experience for their clients?
That's the key question, right?
After all, wealth management is a service industry. Building trust and relationships is huge.
Absolutely.
And that's something we'll dig into in the next part of our deep dive.
Looking forward to it. Let's see how ARWL is making it happen.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's not just about the numbers.
Right.
It's about those relationships. And ARWL seems to get that. They're all about that personal touch.
Yeah, and they made that pretty clear in their presentation.
They talk about really understanding their clients, not just their financial situation,
Right.
but their values, their aspirations, how much risk they're comfortable with, to create solutions that really fit them.
That's smart. A lot of firms out there, they just focus on the transactions, push products, chase those short-term gains.
Yeah.
But ARWL seems to be in it for the long haul.
Right.
They're building those relationships, making their clients feel valued.
And it's working.
Right.
I mean, think about their client retention rates.
Exactly. Like we were talking about before, that client vintage thing.
Yeah.
The fact that so many of their clients have been with them for more than 3 years, that says something.
It really does. Okay, so zooming out a bit, let's talk about the bigger trends in India's wealth management scene. ARWL's presentation mentioned the rise of mutual funds. They see it as a big driver of growth.
Oh, absolutely. Mutual funds in India, they're just getting started. Think about it. As more people in India get wealthier, they're going to want help managing that money. And mutual funds, well, they're a great way to do that. ARWL, with their expertise in equities, they're in a prime position to ride that wave.
They also pointed to the growing number of HNIs in India. More and more people crossing that wealth threshold.
Yeah, and these aren't your grandfather's HNIs.
What do you mean?
Today's HNIs, they're more sophisticated, they're online, they're global. They want things personalized. They want information at their fingertips, and they want transparency from their wealth managers.
Right.
ARWL's got that data-driven approach.
Yeah.
They're all about tailoring solutions. They get it.
Okay, and we can't forget that shift in how people are investing, moving away from those traditional things.
Right, like bank deposits and gold. People are realizing that equities over the long term, that's where the real potential is. And that plays right into ARWL's strengths.
Yeah, their expertise in the equity markets, their focus on long-term growth.
Exactly. They're the perfect guide for clients who are navigating this new landscape.
So ARWL has a great track record. They really understand the market, and they're focused on the H&Is.
Right.
But what about everyone else?
What do you mean?
The mass affluent folks, the retail investors. How are they approaching those segments with their new initiatives like digital wealth and OFA?
Oh, that's all about reaching a wider audience, creating more revenue streams. Digital wealth, that's targeting the mass affluent segment, leveraging technology to personalize those wealth management solutions.
Makes sense. And OFA, the online fund advisor, that's for the retail investors.
Right. It's a platform connecting investors with advisors, giving them more options. It's smart. They're tapping into a bigger market without losing that focus on their core H&I
I
clients.
feel like they're building this ecosystem.
Exactly. Catering to different needs, different preferences, thinking ahead. It's about being ready for the future of wealth management in India.
Let's get back to their financial performance for a minute. They've been exceeding their own guidance for 13 quarters straight. That's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, it's not easy to do that consistently. It shows their discipline, they know what they're doing, their strategy is working, they're delivering value both to their clients and their shareholders.
Their compound annual growth rates are pretty impressive too. Revenue, PIT, AUM, it's all there in their history.
Yep, they're the real deal. Consistent and profitable growth over time. Investors love to see that. It shows they're building a sustainable business, not just chasing quick profits.
And they're not stopping at India's borders either. They're expanding, new offices, a subsidiary in the UK. They're thinking big.
Global ambitions. And why not? They've got the momentum, diversifying revenue, tapping into new markets. It's a natural next step for a company like ARWL.
Earlier, we were talking about their data-driven approach.
Right.
And how they really focus on the client. How's that contributing to their success?
Well, a lot of wealth management, it's still based on gut feelings, you know? Yeah, but ARWL, they're using data to make decisions, to optimize things, to make sure they're giving clients exactly what they need. It's all about being precise, efficient.
Taking the guesswork out of it.
In a way, yeah, but they're not replacing the human touch. They're enhancing it. They've got these algorithms they've developed. Yeah, to analyze client data, provide personalized advice. It's pretty cool, actually. It's like they're combining the best of both worlds, human expertise, and the power of technology.
We've covered a lot. Financial performance, strategy, the data-driven approach. But for someone listening, someone who's interested in wealth management in India, what does this all mean?
ARWL's story, it's like a snapshot of what's happening in the industry. The demand for wealth management services is growing. Investors in India, they're getting more sophisticated, and technology is changing everything.
Right.
ARWL, they're not just keeping up, they're leading the way.
So it's safe to say they're setting a new standard.
I think so. They're combining financial knowledge with a real understanding of what people need and want. In a world where technology is taking over, ARWL is showing that the human touch is still essential.
So ARWL, they're doing well financially, they're strategic, they're using data, and they really get their clients. But what's it actually like to be an ARWL client? What kind of experience do they offer?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll dig into more in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. We'll be right back to wrap up our deep dive into Anand Rathi Wealth Ltd. All right, we're back. We were just talking about, well, the client experience, how important that is in wealth management.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not just about the money. It's about building that trust, making sure the clients feel heard and understood. ARWL, they seem to have a good handle on that.
Yeah, they've got that high-touch, personalized approach.
They're not just, picking stocks and bonds. They're helping people through big life decisions, guiding them through those tricky financial waters.
More than just numbers, right?
Exactly. And their presentation really hammered that home. They emphasized that personal touch, really understanding the client, their values, their goals, even their risk tolerance. It's about creating solutions that actually fit.
Yeah, a lot of firms take a more transactional approach.
Right, in and out. But ARWL, they seem to be building something more lasting.
Like a partnership.
Exactly. They're in it for the long haul. And that seems to be resonating with their clients.
Yeah, those retention rates. Especially that client vintage metric.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Clients sticking around for more than 3 years, that means something. They're happy.
And it's not just the clients.
Right, the relationship managers, too. Low attrition rates there as well. It's a good sign.
It really does speak to a positive culture, doesn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, definitely. Happy employees, they create happy clients. It all feeds back into the business,
Okay.
creates this like positive loop, you know?
Okay, let's shift gears for a second.
Okay.
Remember those company announcements?
The bonus share issue, Mr. Rathi?
Yeah, the bonus share issue first.
Right. Still pending shareholder approval, but it's usually a good sign, Shows confidence in the future, could boost the share price, makes things a bit more accessible for different types of investors.
And then there's the reclassification of Mr. Amit Rathi.
Yeah, from promoter group shareholder to public shareholder,
Yeah.
that's a bit more complex, right? Tied to a family settlement, but could have some interesting implications for the ownership structure, governance.
Something to keep an eye on.
For sure. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. So, big picture, what are the key takeaways here?
Yeah, after this deep dive into ARWL, what should our listeners be thinking about?
Well, I think the big thing is ARWL, they're doing a lot of things right. Strong financials, smart strategy, and they really seem to get their clients. But it's more than that. They're not just focused on the numbers. They understand the human side of this business.
Yeah, they're building relationships, not just portfolios.
Exactly. It's that client-centric approach, combined with the data-driven insights, their innovative spirit. That's what makes them stand out.
So they're setting a new standard.
I'd say so. It's like a blueprint for success in this industry. Financial expertise plus that genuine understanding of what people need and want. It's powerful.
In a world where technology is, like, everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
ARWL is showing us that the human element is still crucial.
Couldn't agree more. It'll be fascinating to see what they do next, as India's wealth management sector keeps growing and changing.
All right, that's going to wrap up our deep dive into Anand Rathi Wealth Ltd.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.